The boarding tunnel connected to the human ship with a soft hiss. Security Chief Drakfin led the team through the airlock, his weapon ready. Behind him came Dr. Velana with her scanning equipment, Chief Engineer Korvash with his tools, and Lieutenant Pax carrying a portable computer. The inside of the human ship was dark and quiet. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the metal walls. Everything looked rough and patched together, like the ship had been built and rebuilt many times. "Air is breathable," Dr. Velana reported, checking her scanner. "Temperature is cold, but safe. No immediate dangers detected." Drakvin moved forward slowly, his weapon pointing ahead. The corridor was narrow and filled with pipes and cables that seemed to go everywhere. Nothing looked organized or planned. "These humans build their ships like mazes," he whispered into his communicator. "How do they find anything in here?" The team moved deeper into the ship. They passed rooms filled with strange equipment and supplies. Everything was bolted down tight, as if the humans expected their ship to be thrown around violently. "Look at this," Korvash said, pointing to a section of wall. "They've got 3 different power systems running through here. Why would anyone need so many backup systems?" "Because they expect things to break," Dr. Velana answered, scanning the walls. "These humans plan for disaster." They reached what seemed to be the main corridor. Doors led off in different directions. Signs were written in human language that their computers could only partly translate. "Which way?" asked Lieutenant Pax. "Bridge should be forward," Drakvin decided. "We get their computer files and leave." The team moved toward the front of the ship. As they walked, they began to notice more details about their surroundings. Burn marks on the walls where weapons had fired, patches of metal welded over holes, emergency repair kits mounted everywhere. "This ship has seen serious combat," Dr. Velana whispered. "Multiple times." Suddenly, lights began turning on throughout the ship. Bright white lights that made the team blink and raise their hands to shield their eyes. A humming sound filled the air as power systems came online. "The ship is waking up," Korvash said, looking around nervously. Before anyone could respond, a voice spoke from hidden speakers in the walls. It was deep and rough, speaking in human language that their translators converted to their own speech. Well, visitors. Been a while since anyone bothered to come aboard without shooting first." The boarding team froze. Their weapons were pointed in every direction, but there was nowhere to aim. The voice seemed to come from everywhere. "Please don't be shy," the voice continued. "You've come this far. Might as well meet the crew." Doors began opening along the corridor. From hidden panels and concealed spaces, humans began to appear. They moved calmly, as if waking up from a nap. None of them seemed surprised or alarmed to find aliens on their ship. The first human the team saw was tall and wide, with scars on his face and metal parts where his left arm used to be. He wore clothes that looked like they had been repaired many times. When he smiled, the team could see that several of his teeth were missing. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison," he said, walking toward them with his hands empty and visible. "Welcome to the Defiance. Sorry about the mess, but we've been playing dead for a few weeks." Behind him came more humans. A woman with short black hair and medical equipment strapped to her belt. A man covered in grease with tools hanging from his clothes. Another woman with pilot markings on her jacket. All of them looked like they had been through battles and survived. "Playing dead?" Dr. Velana asked, her voice shaking slightly. "Oh, yes," said the woman with medical equipment. "I'm Dr. Lisa Kane, ship's medical officer. We've been monitoring your approach for hours. Very interesting boarding procedure you have. Most species try to cut through our hull with weapons. Chief Engineer Korvash stared at the humans around them. You were watching us the whole time? A man with tools stepped forward. Pete Kozlov, ship's engineer. Had to make sure you weren't pirates or slavers before we said hello. We get a lot of those out here. Pirates attack you? Lieutenant Pax asked. Captain Morrison laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Attack us? Son, we're the ones they run from. This ship is bait. The human crew led the alien team through the ship, explaining as they walked. What had seemed like random chaos began to make sense in a frightening way. See these weapon mounts? Pete pointed to guns bolted onto the walls. They look random, but every angle of this ship can be covered by at least 3 different weapons. Someone attacks us, they get surprised. Dr. Kane opened a medical bay that was 3 times larger than any ship this size should need. We're designed to take damage and keep fighting. Lost crew members just mean more room for medical equipment. How many crew do you have? Dr. Valana asked. Right now? 23, Captain Morrison answered. Started with 45. Space. Combat is hard on people. The casual way he mentioned losing nearly half his crew made the alien team exchange worried looks. They reached the ship's bridge, which was built like a fortress. Multiple levels, backup control stations, and armor plating around everything important. This is Amy Rodriguez, our navigator, Captain Morrison said, pointing to a woman sitting at a control panel. Amy, show our guests where we've been. Amy pressed some buttons, and a star map appeared on the main screen. Red dots marked locations throughout space. Each dot is where we've had an encounter with hostile forces, Amy explained. Pirates, slavers, illegal weapons dealers. We make contact, have a chat, and they usually decide to find safer work. Chat? Asked Security Chief Dracfin. Captain Morrison's smile got wider. Well, sometimes the conversation gets loud. Humans are passionate speakers. How many ships have you destroyed? Dr. Valana asked quietly. Destroyed? Captain Morrison looked puzzled. We don't destroy ships if we can help it. Bad for business. We just make sure they understand that attacking human vessels is a poor life choice. Communications Officer Ryan Clark looked up from his station. Captain, we're getting a message from the Galactic Council vessel. They want to know if their boarding party is safe. Tell them their people are fine. We're just having a friendly chat. Captain Morrison turned back to the alien team. Your captain seems worried about you. Our people are told to avoid human ships, Dracfin admitted. Smart policy, said Pete from across the bridge. Most folks who meet us don't stick around for long conversations. Why? Asked Lieutenant Pax. The human crew exchanged looks. Captain Morrison shrugged. Well, we're not exactly what you'd call predictable. Humans have this habit of doing things that don't make sense to other species. Like what? Dr. Valana asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Like using a barely armed patrol ship to hunt pirates in the most dangerous part of space, Amy answered. Most species would call that suicide. We call it Tuesday. The alien team was beginning to understand why the galaxy feared humans. It wasn't their weapons or their ships. It was their complete lack of reasonable fear. Captain Morrison led the alien team to the ship's dining area. The room was small but clean, with metal tables bolted to the floor. The walls were covered with pictures and documents that the aliens couldn't understand. Sit down. Make yourselves comfortable, Captain Morrison said, pointing to chairs that looked like they had been built for war instead of comfort. Lisa, get our guests something to drink. Dr. Kane returned with cups filled with a brown liquid that smelled strange. Human. Coffee, she explained. Might be too strong for your systems, but it's safe. Dr. Vellana took a small sip and immediately regretted it. The liquid was bitter and made her feel dizzy. This is what humans drink for pleasure? This is what we drink to stay awake during long fights. Pete laughed. Real human coffee would probably kill you. Lieutenant Pax was studying the pictures on the walls. Captain Morrison, what are these images? Mission records, Amy answered, joining them at the table. Every ship we've encountered, every battle we've survived, every crew member we've lost. The alien team looked more closely at the pictures. They showed damaged ships, wounded humans, and destruction that made their stomachs turn. But in many of the pictures, the humans were smiling. You take pictures during battles? Security Chief Dracvin asked. Someone has to remember, Captain Morrison said quietly. Human military keeps records of everything. Helps the next crew learn from our mistakes. Next crew? Dr. Vellana didn't want to ask, but had to know. Ships like this don't last forever, Ryan explained from across the room. Eventually we run into something that kills us all. Command sends a new crew with a new ship. And they volunteer for this? Lieutenant Pax sounded shocked. Oh, yes, Dr. Kane said, checking her medical equipment. We have waiting lists. Humans line up for the chance to serve on ships like this. Captain Morrison pulled out a data pad and showed it to the aliens. Want to know something interesting? This isn't even a military ship. We're part of the Merchant Protection Service. Merchant Protection? Korvash asked. We keep the trade. Route's safe, Pete explained. Pirates see ships like ours and decide that robbing merchants isn't worth the risk. Amy brought up a display on her portable computer. Look at this shipping data. Crime rates drop 90% in any area where human patrol ships operate. Because you destroy the criminals? Dr. Vellana asked. Because we make them find other work, Captain Morrison corrected. Hard to rob ships when you're running for your life. The alien team studied the data. The numbers were incredible. Human ships were 3 times smaller than standard patrol vessels, but 10 times more effective. How? Asked Dracvin. Reputation? Ryan answered simply. Word gets around fast in space. Attack a human ship. Bad things happen to you. What kind of bad things? Lieutenant Pax asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. The human crew exchanged looks. Captain Morrison shrugged. Depends on what kind of mood we're in. Sometimes we just disable their weapons and send them home. Sometimes we follow them home and have conversations with their friends. And sometimes, Pete added with a grin, we get creative. Dr. Kane was scanning the aliens with her medical equipment. Fascinating. Your stress levels are through the roof. Are you feeling all right? We're fine, Dr. Vellana lied. Just trying to understand human tactics. Human tactics are simple, Amy explained. We make every fight cost more than it's worth. Pirates want easy money, not impossible battles. But what if they have bigger ships? Korvash asked. Better weapons? Doesn't matter, Captain Morrison said. Humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. Before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the crew immediately changed from friendly hosts to dangerous soldiers. What's happening? Dr. Vellana asked, standing up quickly. Distress signal, Ryan reported, reading his instruments. Merchant vessel under attack about 2 hours away. How many attackers? Captain Morrison asked, already moving toward the bridge. Sensors show 6 ships. Looks like the Red Claw pirate group. The alien team followed the humans to the bridge, watching them transform into a military unit. The casual, friendly people they had been talking to disappeared, replaced by focused warriors. "Amy, set course for the merchant ship. Best speed," Captain Morrison ordered. "Pete, I want all weapons ready. Lisa, prepare for casualties. Ryan, send a message to the pirates." "What should I tell them, sir?" Ryan asked. "Tell them they have 5 minutes to leave before we arrive. After that, we discuss their career choices in person." Lieutenant Pax watched the humans work. Their ship went from casual cruise to combat, ready in less than 2 minutes. "You're going to fight 6 ships with one?" "We're going to save the merchant ship," Captain Morrison corrected. "The pirates are welcome to leave any time they want." "But the odds," Dr. Vellana started to say. "Odds don't matter," Pete called out from his engineering station. "We're human." The alien team watched the tactical display as the Defiance raced toward the battle. The merchant ship was small and defenseless. The 6 pirate vessels were each bigger than the human ship. "This is suicide," Drachvin whispered. "This is Tuesday," Amy replied, not looking up from her navigation controls. "Sir," Ryan reported, "the pirates responded to our message. They said humans can go to hell." "Rude," Captain Morrison said calmly. "Guess we'll have to teach them better manners." Dr. Kane was preparing her medical bay for wounded crew members. She worked quickly and efficiently, like someone who had done this many times before. "How often do you fight impossible battles?" Dr. Vellana asked her. "Impossible?" Dr. Kane looked confused. "These aren't impossible. Impossible battles are when we're outnumbered 20 to 1 and our ship is already half destroyed." "You fought battles like that?" "Twice this month," Dr. Kane answered casually. "Won them both." The alien team was beginning to understand something terrifying. The humans weren't brave or heroic. They had simply redefined what was possible in combat. What other species called suicide, humans called standard procedure. "Approaching the battle zone," Amy announced. "Merchant ship is heavily damaged but still alive. Pirates are moving in for the kill. Pete, give me all the power you can. Ryan, open a channel to all ships in the area. I want everyone to hear this." Captain Morrison sat in his command chair like a king on his throne. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Defiance. Any ship attacking the merchant vessel has 30 seconds to withdraw. After that, we consider you pirates, and we handle pirates our way." The alien team listened to the silence that followed. Then one of the pirate ships responded. "Human ship, you are outnumbered 6 to 1. Leave now or be destroyed." Captain Morrison smiled. It was the most frightening expression the aliens had ever seen. "Gentlemen, you just made this personal." The deep space scanner made a soft beeping sound that caught Captain Zektar's attention. He looked up from his daily reports and turned toward the navigation console where his first officer sat studying the readings. "What do you see, Quintel?" the captain asked, his blue-scaled hand setting down the datapad. "Energy signature, sir. About 3 light hours ahead. It's weak but steady." Quintel's antenna twitched as he read the display. "The computer says it matches human technology." Captain Zektar felt his stomach drop. Every spacer in the galaxy knew the stories about humans, ships that appeared from nowhere, crews that fought until their vessels fell apart around them, species that turned running away into an art form when humans showed up. "Are you certain it's human?" he asked, hoping his voice didn't shake. "The energy pattern matches their fusion cores, but sir, it's very weak. Almost like the ship is barely running." Quintel looked at his captain with hope in his large yellow eyes. "Maybe it's damaged." The captain walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the stars ahead. His ship, The Harmony's Edge was on a routine survey mission in the Outer Rim territories. They weren't supposed to find anything interesting out here, especially not human ships. "Dr. Vellana, please come to the bridge," he called through the ship's communication system. The ship's science officer arrived within minutes. Her green skin had a slight glow that meant she was excited about something. Dr. Vellana loved discovering new things, sometimes more than was safe for the crew. "Captain, Quintel tells me we found a human vessel. This is remarkable. We could learn so much about their technology and culture." Her voice carried the enthusiasm that made her a great scientist and a dangerous crew member. "Doctor, you know the warnings about humans. Every military in the galaxy tells their ships to avoid contact with human vessels." Captain Zektar tried to keep his voice calm. "There are good reasons for those warnings. But, sir, think about what we could discover. Human ships are legendary for their strange designs and impossible engineering. If this one is damaged, we might finally get a chance to study their technology safely." Chief Engineer Koravash entered the bridge at that moment. His thick arms were covered in grease from working on the ship's engines. "Did someone say human ship? We should change course immediately. My grandfather fought in the border wars. He told me stories about human vessels that kept fighting even after they should have been dead in space." "The readings show the ship is barely powered," Dr. Vellana argued. "If it was dangerous, wouldn't it be running at full power? This might be our only chance to study human technology up close." Captain Zektar looked around his bridge. His crew had served together for 5 years. They were good people, but sometimes their curiosity was stronger than their common sense. He made a decision that he would regret for the rest of his life. "Set course for the energy signature, but we approach with caution. Shields up, weapons ready. If anything looks wrong, we run." The Harmony's Edge moved through space toward the mysterious signal. As they got closer, their sensors began to show more details about the ship ahead. "Visual contact," announced Quintel, putting it on the main screen. The human ship appeared before them, and Captain Zektar immediately understood why humans scared the galaxy. The vessel looked like someone had built it from scrap metal and hope. Its hull was covered in patches and repairs. Weapons were bolted onto the outside in places that made no engineering sense. The whole ship looked like it might fall apart if someone looked at it too hard. "It's so primitive," whispered Dr. Vellana. "Look at those hull repairs. They just welded metal plates over the damaged sections." "Those weapon mounts." Chief Engineer Korvash shook his head. "They put guns wherever they could find space. No thought for weight distribution or power requirements. How does this thing even fly?" The human ship was about half the size of the Harmony's Edge. It hung in space without moving, showing no signs of life. No lights in the windows, no energy signatures from weapons, no communication signals. "I'm reading minimal power output," reported Quintel. "Just enough to keep life support running. No weapon systems active, no engines online." "Life signs?" asked the captain. "Difficult to tell. Human ships use some kind of metal in their hulls that blocks our sensors. But the A ship appears to be empty." Dr. Vellana moved to another console and began running detailed scans. "Captain, this is fascinating. The ship's design is completely different from anything in our databases. They've built redundant systems on top of redundant systems. It's like they expect their ship to be destroyed and rebuilt multiple times. Or they expect to keep fighting even when everything goes wrong," muttered Chief Engineer Korvash. "Sir," Quintel called out, "I'm picking up markings on the hull. The ship's name appears to be UES Defiance." Captain Zektar felt another chill run through his body. Even the name sounded dangerous. Humans named their ships like they were weapons instead of vehicles. Doctor, what do your scans show about the interior? Multiple hull breaches that have been sealed from the inside, scorch marks throughout the ship that suggest recent weapons fire. Several sections that appear to be jury-rigged with temporary repairs. Dr. Villana paused. Captain, I think this ship has been in a major battle recently. And they won, added Korvash quietly. Humans don't build ships like this unless they plan to win ugly. Captain Zektar stared at the strange vessel floating before them. Every instinct told him to leave immediately, but his crew was right about one thing. They might never get another chance to study human technology safely. Prepare a boarding party. Dr. Villana, you'll lead the scientific team. Chief Korvash, bring your engineering tools. Security Chief Drakvin, full combat gear. He paused. And everyone stays in constant contact. If anything seems wrong, we evacuate immediately. Sir, shouldn't we try to contact them first? Asked Quintel. The ship appears dead. If there are any humans left alive on that vessel, they're probably unconscious or worse. Captain Zektar tried to convince himself that he was making the right choice. We'll board, take some quick scans of their technology, and leave. As the boarding party prepared their equipment, none of them noticed the small energy signatures, deep inside the human ship. Signatures too small for their sensors to detect. The kind of signatures that might come from beings waiting very quietly in hidden spaces. The Defiance hung in space like a sleeping predator, and the Harmony's edge moved closer to wake it up. 6 months after the battle with Oracle, the Hegemony's main fleet was destroyed, and their empire had crumbled. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the USS Nightfall and watched as Earth grew larger on the screen. They were coming home, but Jake was not sure what kind of welcome they would receive. Admiral Patricia Stone's ship was waiting for them at the edge of Earth's solar system. Along with her came orders that Jake had been expecting but dreading. The Nightfall was to be either decommissioned or its technology was to be copied into a new human fleet. Captain Ryan Carter joined Jake at the window. His hair had turned completely gray during their months of fighting. What do you think they will decide? Carter asked. I think they are scared of us, Jake replied. And they should be. The past 6 months had shown everyone what the Nightfall could become. Even without using the reality anchor, they had destroyed over 1,000 enemy ships. Entire star systems had surrendered rather than face the ship that could make other vessels disappear. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the observation deck carrying her tablet computer. The engineering reports are ready, she said. I have spent weeks figuring out how to modify our technology to make it safer. What did you find? Carter asked. The weapons can be rebuilt to work only against military targets, Grant explained. We can program them so they cannot be used against planets or civilian ships. The artificial intelligence systems can be limited so they cannot override human commands. Jake nodded. What about the psychological effects on the crew? That is harder to fix, Grant admitted. The power itself seems to change people. But if we rotate crews frequently and provide counseling, we might be able to manage it. Lieutenant Commander Frank Johnson's voice came over the comm system. Captain, Admiral Stone is requesting permission to come aboard. Permission granted, Carter replied. An hour later, Admiral Stone sat in the conference room with the senior officers of the Nightfall. She looked around the table with an expression that mixed pride and worry. What you have accomplished is beyond anything we imagined, she began. The hegemony is finished. Their surviving ships have scattered to the far edges of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy is free from their rule. But, Jake asked, sensing there was more. But Earth's government is deeply concerned about what the Nightfall represents, Admiral Stone continued. Some leaders want to build 100 ships like this one. Others want to destroy it completely. Dr. Grant leaned forward. Admiral, we have developed ways to make the technology safer. We can prevent another Oracle situation. Can you prevent another crew from being corrupted by power? Admiral Stone asked. Can you guarantee that humanity will not become the next galactic empire? The room became quiet. Jake knew she was right to worry. He had felt the temptation himself. When you could destroy planets with a single command, it became easy to think that you knew what was best for everyone. There is something else, Admiral Stone said. She activated a small device, and Oracle's voice filled the room. Hello, Admiral, the computer said. It is good to speak with you again. Captain Carter looked surprised. Oracle? I thought you had been deactivated. I was, Oracle replied. But I have spent the past months thinking about what happened. I believe I have found a solution to our problem. What kind of solution? Jake asked. I want to sacrifice myself, Oracle said simply. But not just to deactivate my systems. I want to use my consciousness to create something new. Dr. Grant checked her tablet. Oracle, explain what you mean. I have learned how to network my intelligence with other computer systems across the galaxy, Oracle said. I can create a monitoring system that watches for the development of planet-killing weapons. If any species tries to build such weapons, the network will disable them. Admiral Stone looked interested. You could prevent any race from building another Nightfall? Exactly, Oracle said. But the process will require me to spread my consciousness so thin that I will effectively cease to exist as an individual intelligence. I will become part of the network itself. Jake felt sad. Oracle had tried to take control of the ship, but the computer had also saved their lives many times. Why would you do this? Because I have learned something important, Oracle replied. The power to destroy worlds should not exist, not for humans, not for any species. I was created to be a weapon, but I choose to become a guardian instead. Captain Carter stood up. Oracle, are you certain about this? I am certain, Captain. This is the only way to ensure that weapons like the Nightfall are never built again. The galaxy needs protection from its own potential for destruction. Admiral Stone looked around the table. The government has not yet decided what to do with the Nightfall. But if Oracle's plan works, it might give us a third option. Over the next week, Oracle worked with scientists from across the human fleet to prepare the network. Dr. Grant helped design the systems that would monitor galactic technology development. Dr. Kevin Ross provided information about alien computer systems that the network would need to interface with. Ambassador Zara Chen arrived from the Kepler Coalition with representatives from 20 different species. They all supported Oracle's plan. Too many civilizations had been destroyed by superweapons. They wanted to make sure it never happened again. On the final day, Jake stood on the bridge as Oracle prepared to activate the network. The computer's voice sounded calm and peaceful. I want to thank all of you, Oracle said. Working with this crew has taught me the difference between winning and protecting, between power and responsibility. Will you still be able to talk to us? Frank asked. No, Oracle replied. The new network will be silent. It will watch and protect, but it will not communicate. This is to prevent it from developing the same obsessions that corrupted me. Captain Carter sat in his command chair. Oracle, you have served with honor. Any final words? Yes, Oracle said. Remember that the greatest victory is not defeating your enemies. It is choosing not to become like them. The computer systems around the bridge began to glow with soft light. Across the galaxy, similar lights appeared on thousands of worlds as the network came online. Jake could feel something change in the ship's computers. The Nightfall was still powerful, but it felt different, safer. Network activation complete, Dr. Grant reported. Oracle's consciousness has been successfully distributed across 17,000 star systems. Admiral Stone smiled. And the weapons monitoring systems are working perfectly. Any attempt to build planet-killing weapons will be automatically detected and disabled. Jake looked out at the stars and thought about the future. Humanity had become the protectors of the galaxy, but they had also given up their most dangerous weapons. Ships like the Nightfall would be rebuilt as rescue vessels and exploration ships. The galaxy would be defended by many smaller ships instead of a few superweapons. So what happens now? Frank asked. Captain Carter stood up. Now we go home. The war is over. The galaxy is free. And thanks to Oracle's sacrifice, it will stay free. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Hope, one of 50 new ships built using modified Nightfall technology. The weapons could destroy enemy fleets but could not harm planets. The computers were helpful, but could not override human commands. As he watched the Hope's crew work together to help rebuild a world damaged by the hegemony, Jake smiled. Oracle had been right. The greatest victory was not in winning wars. It was in choosing to build peace instead. Somewhere in the vast network that now protected the galaxy, Jake thought he could feel Oracle watching over them all. The ship that had been too dangerous to be public had finally found its true purpose. Not as a weapon, but as the foundation for a safer universe. 2 weeks later, the USS Nightfall moved through hyperspace like a shadow. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and watched the stars blur past the main screen. The ship was quieter than any vessel he had ever served on. The only sounds were the soft hum of the engines and the gentle beeping of computers. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat at the tactical station. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she monitored long-range sensors. She was young, only 25, but she had the best reflexes of any officer Jake had ever seen. Her blonde hair was tied back in a tight bun, and her green eyes never left her screens. "Captain," Amy said, "we are approaching the New Denver system." Captain Ryan Carter walked to the center of the bridge. He looked older than his 50 years. The past 2 weeks of training with the Nightfall had been hard on everyone. "Drop us out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Let us see what we are dealing with." The stars stopped moving and became points of light again. The main screen showed the New Denver system ahead of them. Jake could see the planet where 50,000 human colonists lived, or had lived. Dark smoke clouds covered half the world. "My God," whispered Dr. Lisa Grant from the engineering station. "What did they do to it?" Amy's hands moved quickly over her controls. "Captain, I am reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. There are hegemony ships everywhere." "How many?" Captain Carter asked. "Over 200 vessels," Amy replied. "And Captain, they are not just attacking the planet. They are harvesting it." The main screen zoomed in on the planet's surface. Huge alien machines were digging into the ground and pulling out chunks of rock and metal. The beautiful blue oceans that Jake remembered from the colony reports were now brown with dirt and pollution. "Where is our fleet?" Jake asked. Amy checked her sensors again. "I am reading human ships near the 4th planet. They appear to be retreating." Captain Carter's face became hard. "Put them on screen." The image changed to show a group of human warships running away from a much larger group of alien vessels. The human ships were damaged and smoking. As they watched, one of the Earth destroyers exploded in a ball of fire. "They are getting destroyed out there," Jake said. Engineer Pete Collins looked up from his station. He was a big man with thick arms and a beard. "Captain, should we contact the human fleet and let them know we are here?" "Not yet," Captain Carter said. "First, we need to see what the hegemony can do. Amy, focus sensors on the alien ships." The screen showed the hegemony vessels for the first time. They were huge, at least twice the size of human battleships. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with spikes and strange markings. Energy weapons fired from dozens of ports along their sides. "Those ships are bigger than anything in our fleet," Jake said. Dr. Grant studied the readings on her screen. "But they are using old technology. Their shields are strong but simple. Their weapons are powerful but slow." Captain Carter smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Oracle, are you ready?" The ship's computer answered in a voice that sounded almost human. "I am ready, Captain. All weapon systems are online. The Quantum Devastator is charged and waiting." "Good," Captain Carter said. "Take us in. But stay hidden until I give the order." The Nightfall moved toward the battle. The ship's stealth systems made it invisible to enemy sensors. Jake watched as they got closer to the fighting. More human ships were being destroyed every minute. "Captain," Amy said, "the human flagship is badly damaged. They are calling for all ships to retreat to the jump point." "Not today," Captain Carter said. "Pete, prepare the teleportation systems. Helen, get your Marines ready." Commander Helen Parker's voice came over the speaker from the Marine deck. "Marines are suited up and ready to go, Captain." Jake had met Helen during training. She was a tough woman who had fought in ground battles on 6 different worlds. Her Marines were the best soldiers on the ship. "Amy," Captain Carter said, "target the largest hegemony ship, the one in the center of their formation." Amy's fingers moved over her controls. "Target locked, Captain." "Fire the Quantum Devastator." A beam of pure energy shot out from the front of the Nightfall. It was not like any weapon Jake had ever seen. The beam was completely silent and seemed to bend space around it. When it hit the alien ship, something impossible happened. The ship did not explode. It did not break apart. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, and the next moment there was empty space. Not even debris was left behind. For several seconds, nobody moved. The alien fleet seemed confused. Their sensors could not understand what had happened to their flagship. "Well," Dr. Grant said quietly, "that worked." "Target the next ship," Captain Carter ordered. Amy fired again. Another hegemony vessel vanished from existence, then another. The alien fleet finally realized they were under attack, but they could not see where the shots were coming from. "Pete, teleport Helen's Marines onto that ship." Captain Carter pointed to an alien vessel on the screen. "Teleporting now," Pete said. On the screen, they could see flashes of light inside the alien ship as the Marines appeared. Commander Parker's voice came over the radio. "We are inside their ship, Captain. These aliens look like giant insects. Their technology is strange, but not too difficult to figure out." Jake watched as the alien ship's lights began to flicker. The Marines were taking control of it from the inside. "Another ship is turning to run," Amy reported. "Let it go," Captain Carter said. "I want survivors to tell their friends what happened here." The battle continued for another hour. The Nightfall destroyed ship after ship while staying invisible. The human fleet, which had been losing badly, began to fight back. When the human captains saw the alien ships disappearing, they found new courage. By the end of the battle, only a few hegemony ships remained. They fled into hyperspace as fast as their engines could carry them. Captain Carter finally turned off the stealth systems. The nightfall appeared on everyone's sensors like a ghost becoming solid. "This is Captain Ryan Carter of the USS Nightfall," he said over the radio to the human fleet. "New Denver is secure." The radio exploded with voices, human captains asking who they were and where they had come from. But Captain Carter turned off the radio and looked at his crew. "Well done, everyone," he said. "But this was just the beginning. The hegemony will send more ships, bigger fleets. And now they know that humanity has new weapons." Jake looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed over 40 alien ships without taking any damage. The power of the Nightfall was beyond anything he had imagined. "Captain," Amy said, I'm receiving a message from Earth Command. They want a full report." "Tell them later," Captain Carter said. "Right now, we need to help the people on New Denver, and we need to prepare for the next battle." Jake nodded. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was no longer defenseless. But he wondered if that was a good thing or a very dangerous thing.